When you study how soldiers survived during the brutal winters of World War II, you start to realize that survival wasn't always about weapons, strategy, or supplies. It was about ingenuity. In the frozen trenches of the Eastern Front and the damp dugouts of Northern Europe, warmth meant life. Soldiers didn't have the luxury of steady fuel or modern insulation, so they turned to what they had: the earth beneath them and the scraps from their rations. Out of sheer necessity, they discovered one of the strangest yet most effective insulation tricks of the war, combining sand and animal fat to create a barrier that could keep the cold out, seal warmth in, and even waterproof underground shelters. When every degree of warmth meant the difference between survival and frostbite. By 1941, the winter campaign on the Eastern Front had become a test of endurance as much as combat. The cold was relentless, seeping through boots, blankets and bunker walls. Conventional methods of insulation, wood panelling, straw or cloth, were either unavailable or soaked through by melting snow. The solution came not from military engineers, but from soldiers themselves, observing how nature and necessity could work together. Fat, especially rendered animal tallow, had been used for centuries as a sealant and fuel. Sand, on the other hand, was everywhere, cheap, stable, and resistant to moisture. Combined, they formed a crude but reliable insulating layer. When heated and blended, the fat seeped into the grains of sand, creating a dense, semi-solid mass that resisted both water and wind. Soldiers used this mixture to coat bunker walls, line dugouts, and even seal cracks in makeshift wooden huts. It was not a luxury. It was survival chemistry in its rawest form. The process was brutally simple, but required patience. Soldiers would collect animal fat, usually from discarded meat, field kitchens, or scavenged livestock, and render it down in a tin or metal pot over a low fire until it turned liquid. Sand was then mixed in gradually until the mixture reached a clay-like consistency. Once cooled slightly, it was spread over earthen walls or packed between layers of wooden planking. The result was a dense, sticky coating that hardened slightly on the surface but remained pliable underneath. This flexibility allowed it to absorb minor shifts in the structure without cracking, making it perfect for underground bunkers that constantly settled and shifted. In the Eastern Front diaries of both German and Soviet soldiers, there are mentions of fat sand plaster or grease clay used especially in command posts and ammunition storage rooms. It served a dual purpose, keeping warmth inside and moisture outside. The fat acted as a hydrophobic layer, repelling groundwater seepage, while the sand provided structure and thermal mass. Some troops even coated the interior of stoves and heat ducts with the same material to slow heat loss through thin metal. Over time, these soldiers refined their mixtures, sometimes adding ash or crushed charcoal to improve heat retention. The principle behind the World War II sand and fat insulation trick is, well, timeless. Combine a natural sealant with a thermal mass to stabilize temperature and repel moisture. Modern survivalists and off-grid builders can replicate this method using sustainable materials. In a cold-weather shelter, applying a mixture of animal fat, or even vegetable shortening in modern adaptations, and sand to interior walls can create a natural vapor barrier. It's especially effective for earthen or underground shelters, where condensation can lead to rot or freezing dampness. For a small-scale demonstration, Try this process safely outdoors. Heat down a few cups of animal fat. Beef tallow or lard works best until liquid. Stir in clean sand until it forms a firm paste. Spread this paste about an inch thick along a section of packed soil or on a wooden panel. Once it cools, you'll notice it repels water effectively. For field application, soldiers often layered burlap or cloth over the coating for extra protection, especially where walls were exposed to dripping groundwater. In survival terms, this material performs three key roles. It insulates waterproofs and seals odours, which in wartime was an added advantage when trying to conceal a bunker from scent-tracking dogs or from smoke detection. The fat sand blend can also be adapted for modern use in primitive building projects such as earth shelters, smoke houses or root cellars, where moisture control is, absolutely critical. The sand and fat insulation method wasn't just about warmth. It reflected a deeper wartime principle, using every available resource to its fullest potential. In environments where logistics failed and supply chains froze, adaptation became the real weapon. Soldiers didn't have fiberglass or foil-backed insulation. What they had was a tin of grease, a shovel of sand, and a will to make them work. Interestingly, post-war rural Europe continued using similar techniques in farmhouses and storage cellars. Before the spread of modern sealants, a mixture of sand, lime, and fat was often applied to stone foundations to keep dampness out. It's a quiet echo of the field innovation that once kept men alive in trenches half a world away. Even today, restoration experts studying World War II-era bunkers have found remnants of these coatings still clinging to earthen walls, darkened by time but intact, proving their durability. The sand and fat insulation trick serves as a powerful reminder that resilience isn't built in factories. It's forged in the field. The same mixture that once lined wartime bunkers can still serve those who live close to the land today. It's not about nostalgia. It's about practical, lasting knowledge. When stripped of modern conveniences, knowing how to harness simple materials, how to turn the most basic elements of nature into tools of survival, becomes priceless. The next time you study World War II engineering or field survival methods, look beyond the weapons and uniforms. The true genius of those soldiers was in the quiet, forgotten innovations like this one, the ones that never made it into manuals but saved lives by the thousands. If you found this story of wartime ingenuity valuable, make sure to subscribe to In the Beginning for more deep dives into forgotten survival methods and field innovations that shaped how humans endured the harshest conditions in history. Share this video with fellow history enthusiasts and survivalists, because these lost lessons from the past may be exactly what keeps knowledge alive for the future.